Okay, we are live. Not up yet. Good afternoon, friends of Numi Nation. Here we are with the end of day show. It's episode 26 of New Minds TV. So, New Minds TV is the home of real inspired learning, and the end of day show is quickly becoming the home of real inspired conversations. If you've been tuning in the last week or so, you've seen I've had some amazing guests join me for just really poignant, insightful conversations about super relevant topics. We glean the richest little nuggets from every conversation. It's been really enriching. Today is absolutely no exception. I'm proud to be joined by Miss Tricia Beck. So Tricia is the founder of Beck Leadership. She's a leadership coach and a training and development specialist. She's actually been teaching for 30 years as well. And there's a personal connection here between me and Tricia and New Minds Enrichment, and that is several years ago our paths crossed because she was teaching in the North Texas area, and she worked directly with us, helping us develop courses and delivering courses at our summer camps, and a great positive connection developed from there. And she has since moved on and evolved and has been doing Beck Leadership for the last few years. And we've been proud to maintain this connection. So Tricia, welcome to the end of day show. Thanks for joining us on New Minds TV.
It's so great to be here, Ben. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity. It's exciting. It's always fun to work with you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. So, of course, your current, the current niche that you focus on is leadership. And sometimes I've seen in some of your the things that you publish, you openly refer to it as soft skills development, which I think is fantastic. A lot of people, look down on that term, but I love how you just kind of own it and embrace it with unapologetically. And so you have a rich experience as an educator, which we'll get to because we have a lot of listeners here who are managing this. Well, we've been calling it quarantine teaching recently. Involuntary homeschooling, etc. So we're gonna wanna get your insights and maybe even a couple of hacks on how to manage that situation. But first, I really want to dig into your area of focus and expertise, which is leadership. And leadership in these wild, crazy times, unprecedented for most of us. I don't think most people alive, maybe it's comparable to a wartime scenario, maybe the Great Depression, but not too many of us were sitting around in the Great Depression and have built up this resistance. So this is brand new for most of us. So can we start with kind of put you on the spot here, I guess. Tricia, what is your definition of a leader?
Wow. Well, leaders come in all sizes and all shapes and in all different venues. And I think whether you're a leader in your household because you're parenting, you're a leader in your classroom because you're a teacher and your students look up to you, a school administrator, or maybe you run a company and you work with a team of people, I mean, you and Justin are leaders, but you're the type of leaders that I really embrace. It's more of that transformational form of leadership where you help inspire other people to become the best version of who they can become. It's not that dogmatic, old traditional top-down type of leader. And yeah, there are some things that hold true for all those different forms of leadership.
Yeah, I love that. I just didn't want people tuning in to think, like I'm not in a formal leadership position, so maybe there's no gems for me here, but absolutely there will be. So, so Tricia, before we get into some specific ideas about, this particular crisis, the COVID crisis, and how leaders might step into this space, what are some ideas in general, in crisis moments in general? What are some guidelines you have for leaders and how to carry forward?
Well, one of the things that I hold dear to my heart is that leaders at all levels, like I just defined some of those different levels, if we want to lead people, we have to first inspire trust. And to inspire trust, we have to become very empathetic and very good listeners. And so it's not a panacea, but I think that's the best place to start, is to make sure that you're being very empathetic, you're listening, and really helping the people that are looking to you during this time of crisis. Can they trust you to lead them through this crisis? And do they feel like you're hearing their concerns? And that's a real skill.
Yeah, I love that. Are you able to, what does real listening look like? Like, what's, how as a leader, how can we show that we are empathetic without it just sort of being kind of like some kind of hack that we're applying because we know we need to show empathy and trust? Like, what does authentic listening and empathy look like from a leader?
Listening is exceptional listening. You know it when it happens. And it's not sustainable all the time in every situation, but it is, for example, you've leaned in physically a little bit. You've put away all distractions. You don't interrupt someone before they finish what they're saying. You understand, we hear 450 words per minute, but people speak 150 words per minute. So there's a disconnect there, and that's part of the reason why it's so easy to interrupt people, because we hear and understand so much faster than they're speaking. And so there's that tendency to want to, okay, I got it. But to be patient with the process, clear your agenda, and really be present in the moment with no agenda. And that's really hard to do in a world that's, we're crazy with multitasking. But to practice being present in the moment.
Yeah, thanks for that little data bomb too. I'm going to jump back to that for a second. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but we hear and we process 450 words per minute.
Yep.
But we
3 times faster.
But we speak about 150. You said, whoa, yeah. Which kind of explains the tendency a lot of people have to be jumping ahead in the conversation and just waiting for their turn to cut in and reply, and they've missed a huge percentage of what was communicated. So you're saying a leader counteracts that impulse by coming present to the moment and concentrating, giving the time and attention in that moment to listen to whoever they're leading in this case. So it could be their child, it could be their employee, their team member, whatever. Okay, I like that. Yeah, and so without you really emphasize this idea of not having an agenda as well. So it's about letting that expression happen from the person you're leading. And then what's next though? Okay, so obviously there's in times of crisis just implies that there's stress, that there's probably some chaos, that there's worry. So sounds like step one is that empathetic ear. You're present as a leader, you're present in the moment, you're letting them express, you're showing that you're there with empathy and as a listener. And then what's next? Because I have a feeling that if it just stopped there, that's not necessarily the full definition of leadership. So what's next?
Validating their concerns without just brushing them off. I understand you're upset. I understand you're worried. Addressing their concerns that you've listened to authentically. And then from that point, depending on the situation, taking that leadership role and being decisive and knowing the next step that's appropriate for the situation. So, maybe your child comes to you and they're hearing things and they're afraid that you're all going to run out of money or toilet paper or something. And really hearing their concern, validating it, maybe saying back what I'm hearing you say, and that must be really scary for you. This is my plan. This is what I'm in charge, basically, or or I have an idea. You can trust me to lead us through this situation. With kids, it's going to be a lot different than it is if you're working with adults.
Yeah. So that
in the age of the child too.
Sure. And so the main point, though, whether it's as a parent or as a corporate leader or whatever it might be, seems to be that decisiveness. So if stage one is empathy and validation, stage two is decisiveness, giving them a sense of structure, maybe a sense of direction that you've got their back. And so I guess that can take a lot of different forms. But what happens when the leader's not sure? Is it important for the leader to express decisiveness in the face of their own sort of worry and anxiety? Or is some level of authenticity, is that part of the mirroring process?
If we're not authentic, I don't care if the child is a toddler or you're dealing with your parents and they're in their 80s. If you're not being authentic, people see through it. And they're not going to trust you. You're not going to connect. It's okay as a leader to say, I hear your concerns and I share some of them too. Honestly, I'm really not certain what I'm going to do moving forward. Let's have a conversation. Do you have any ideas about it? And maybe engage them in the process of the solution.
Yeah, there you go. So not necessarily, the evaporating, I guess that doesn't make sense, but not necessarily as a leader falling into a puddle on the floor, to kind of join them in full misery, but being human, being authentic, letting them know that you mirror and you validate their worries and their concerns. But then it's that next switch that maybe is one of the biggest differences between a leader and a non-leader, is taking that step forward, giving it some direction, giving it some structure. And there's lots of leadership styles, which you probably won't have time to get into today, but
Right.
Whatever the leadership style, it seems like that seems to be the important thing, is some level of decisiveness and clarity.
Yes.
And clarity. Yeah. And that's even more important in a time of crisis than it is, I'm assuming, in kind of a day-to-day situation.
Well, yeah, and maybe more so. It's a crisis is, everything is dialed up. And a leader should have these same skills in any setting. But in a crisis, we just have to understand that everything is just dialed up, and we have to be truly vigilant about our emotional intelligence and tap into those self-regulatory skills that we know work so well, and monitor where we are and check in with ourselves. Take time to meditate, take time to show up for other people with your tank full so that you can be present and really give to other people.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a theme that has popped up in every conversation I've had so far, which is, it doesn't always come out in this context, but the difference between being activated in fight or flight mode, or your sympathetic nervous system, your anxiety, and finding a way to counteract that with some kind of methodology, whether you're a meditator or you have some way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system and getting out of fight or flight. And I think as a leader, finding yourself in that space, you're going to be so much more effective, and that's where that authenticity is going to come through as well. I think that's where the calming energy and the calming presence will come from as well. If you have been able to bring yourself to the moment in the relaxed state, I think that's going to give the reassurance even at the nonverbal level. So one thing in our discussions, you mentioned that, as we leading up to the conversation, was about kind of like acting and adapting boldly. That's interesting, right? Like everyone's talking about adapting, pivoting, things like this. What do you mean when you use the phrase adapt boldly?
Well, if it's a crisis, there may not be time to vacillate too much. Adapt and do it with conviction. Yeah. And know that it could fail. There could be bumps along the way, but don't second guess yourself. Make the best decision on the information you have at the time, adapt and move forward, which is what you and Justin have modeled so well recently.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tricia. Yeah, exactly. I mean, since you opened the door, I'll talk a little bit more about the New Mind situation. Of course, when the crisis hit and the schools closed, we had, we have traditionally very consciously been a 3D sort of in-person enrichment company. It was really important for us for that face-to-face element. It was all part of our real inspired learning formula. But what we realized, and this kind of leads into a different type of discussion, but what we realized at the core of who we were, our why, was real inspired learning. That's been our tagline forever, since the beginning, since 2013. So we realized, okay, you know what? The platform has changed, but there's still a way to manifest real inspired learning out there. It's just going to be in a different platform. And in one weekend, so on Friday, everyone went home from the office on a Friday, and very uncertain. Like all the announcements started coming out about schools here in the U.S., like schools shutting down. Like, so one by one, we watched our customers disappear for a while, indefinitely. And that's our revenue stream, right? So exactly like you're describing, Justin and I had a phone call that Saturday, and NewMinds.tv was born that Saturday afternoon. The next day on Sunday, we had a team meeting on Zoom. It was our first Zoom meeting with the whole staff, and we said, hey guys, here's what we're doing. New Minds TV is going to be born tomorrow, Monday. Let's do this. And that, I'm not trying to claim superior leadership or anything, but that's exactly what we did. Was we adapted boldly. Like, there was no hesitation. It was like, and exactly like you said, we kind of told them, this may fail, this may fall flat, but at least it's something. We're taking action. We're contributing to the world in this moment of crisis with what we do best, which is real inspired learning. So it's like go big or go home kind of thing, right? The other option was to kind of just like sit in the corner and wait it out. That's not our style, you know that. So yeah, I love that I'm able to echo what you're saying as kind of like just sound advice for moments of crisis. So we've been, I guess now we're in the moment. So now we're talking about the COVID crisis, and this is unique to other crises where, there could be economic crisis, there could be a natural disaster and things like that, but nothing that would quite force us all into our homes and quarantine like this and ask us to learn how to collaborate 100% remotely. So, and I think, I don't know, I'm really big about in terms of time where we're the Zoom era,
Oh, boy, okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be authentic.
Yeah, please.
I graduated a class here in Tucson from my leadership training program. And like you, I love teaching and I love learning. And so that hands-on, face-to-face and have them with other people practicing soft skills. It's a very intimate, almost kind of experience. And I have for the last 6 months been having people tell me, why don't you just offer it online? And I'm very married to the idea of having a real quality product where people really feel and the measurable difference in their skill sets when they finish my course. And I just couldn't imagine doing it online. Well, my class, my second group of students here graduated March the 10th. And then, as you know, everything started shutting down. So I kind of stepped back, and I've actually been writing a book. I'm working on writing a book. I thought, well, I'll use this downtime to write a book. But in the meantime, the universe keeps saying, you need to go online. You need to figure out how to put this course online. And honestly, I'm not sure how to maintain the integrity of a face-to-face experience and still have my course online. So I'll look to you guys and see how you do it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. There are definitely aspects of the New Minds magic that are lost. We've been doing, aside from New Minds TV, we've been doing online private groups for like after-school enrichment type situations, and we're adapting the best we can. We're trying to make it engaging in the New Minds way, but it's very difficult. There's multiple elements that are lost in the online format. So it's kind of like just making the best we can out of this situation. And we're also trying to focus on the silver linings, which are the geographical boundaries have melted away in some ways, right? Whereas before, it was like New Minds has their after school enrichment session at ABC Academy on Thursdays. Well, now it can be like, you know what, on Thursdays at 5 p.m. GMT, New Minds has an online STEAM enrichment session for anyone on planet Earth who wants to sign up. So we're trying to look at it as an opportunity to break down some walls in that way. And yeah, we'll let you know over the next, you'll see it happen over the next few months. And whatever you decide, I know you'll follow your instincts about what to do with your leadership course. And maybe that is a case where you just wait it out. It sounds like you're making very good use of your time and using the opportunity to work on a book. Are you able to tell us any more about the book?
Yeah, actually, the topic is mentoring. I have not come up with a title, and I'm going to market this book to women.
Okay.
And I've been collecting stories from women on mentoring, and it's kind of a nuts and bolts, just a real like a reference type book on the process of mentoring and being a good mentee, and sprinkled with some real rich personal stories from various different women. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, very nice. And you know, right here on our Zoom portal, you have your contact info there. BeckLeadership.com is your site, and then Tricia at Beck Leadership is your direct email contact. If people their ears just perked up when they heard about you writing a book on mentorship specifically for women, is BeckLeadership.com the place to kind of stay tuned in?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And
yes, indeed. And you know, I'm actually, like you though, Ben, I'm kind of excited at the possibility of, you know, it's out of my comfort zone, and part of it is my generation, okay? The idea of wrestling with technology to put a course into a platform that's really user-friendly and friendly for me as well, it's a bit much, but the silver lining is definitely anybody can do it from anywhere. They don't have to leave their work site to do it. So yeah, there is a silver lining to all of this. And I think, you know, I mentioned to you in something earlier that Chinese character for the word crisis has two parts to the character, and one part means danger and the other part means growth. And I do think that crisis pushes us to a point where we're forced to take a different look at things, and tremendous opportunity for growth in those situations. So I think if we can maintain a positive, optimistic outlook and embrace the opportunities for growth, I think crisis can maybe be a catalyst for some good things. I hope that doesn't sound strange. You know, it sounds like an oxymoron, but
oh no, hey, paradoxes are the doorway doorway to wisdom. I love that. I love that you made that connection, because I think that's what I see mirrored everywhere. On the one, I think we're all like taking our news streams in doses. We have to be careful, right?
Yeah.
But what I do when I do go on social media and I look around, even mainstream news, I see this combination of the danger. To go back to your analogy of the Chinese character, like sometimes that's all we hear, and that's the noise, and that's dominating, right? It's like 90% danger. But more and more now, as things, I hate to even use this because it's all relative, but as things have calmed and normalized a little bit with the situation, I think we're seeing more and more of that other side of the character, which is the opportunity. And a lot of people, I think, are waking up to that thought, are ready to embrace that thought that, like, hey, how can I grow in this situation? And I know there's some people, initially at least, we're feeling a lot of pressure about like productivity, and I've got to use this time to come up with my great next side hustle. I've got to write a book. And it was almost like a little bit oppressive to some people, like, you know what, I'm emotionally traumatized right now, I can't do all this productivity. But I think now that it's in some ways, like I said, being sensitive to the real dangers, in some ways, now that it's steadied and normalized a little, people are kind of ready to embrace this thought that it is an opportunity. And I want to, Mr. T, Doug Thompson, is watching live, and when we get live comments, I like to share them with the guests. So Doug said some great additions here to the conversation. When we were talking about being authentic as a leader and being vulnerable and letting them, communicating that you also are worried and that you empathize, he says, that reassuring, authentic dialogue is much more meaningful than just it's going to be okay, right? Like, it's actually like you were saying, Tricia, they read through it. They can see right through it if you're just like parroting, the tried and true phrases that you're supposed to. And so Doug also says we cannot underestimate the subliminal effects of the news stream that we immerse ourselves in. Yeah, kind of echoing what you were just saying about the danger side and the trauma and the anxiety. Also, he's validating your book topic. He says, excellent book topic. I love what our astronauts have been doing for girls, right? So I don't know if you have that as a potential theme in the book, but kind of in the STEM fields, there's a big push right now, probably the girls in STEM, women in STEM, and in particular, the female astronauts have been getting lots of good, excellent exposure. So I think that's what Doug is referring to. Yeah. Okay. And he's excited. He says, crisis joins danger with growth. Need to dive into this further. So I think you just like set Doug on a little path there for some opportunities for growth. So that's fantastic.
Awesome.
So people know where to find you, beckleadership.com, or your email address, which is right there. We know about the book, which we're all intrigued about now. Great topic. And so if you decide to do an online version of your leadership course, you'll let New Minds know so that we can share it out, I'm assuming?
I would really appreciate it. Yep. And see, that's just one more way the universe is telling me I should move forward with that idea. So thanks.
Yeah. Maybe some aspects of it can be adapted for now, and it could expand your reach. Just think maybe you could influence a future leader on the other side of the globe that you wouldn't have reached, and that he or she grows into be an influencer, So putting that opportunity spin on it.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Tricia, for joining us this afternoon. And we would love, not to put too much pressure on it, but we would love to have you back when the book gets further along. And it sounds like a very fascinating hypothesis. And that in itself could make a great, podcast discussion, just women and mentorship and girls and mentors.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great topic that a lot of people could benefit from.
Yeah. I reached out to about 50 women that I really admire, and that I've started getting stories back from them to include, and it runs the gamut from, their grandmother to someone really incredible. So, I'm kind of, like you said, I'm building the plane as as I'm flying it, you know. So, but it's a fun process, you know, and learning is always fun.
Yeah.
You're never too old to learn something new, right?
Absolutely. We have to. We have to. Our brains are firing until they're not, you know? So we have to take advantage of that.
Gotta feed those dendrites.
Exactly. Okay, well, awesome. Thanks again for coming on. This will, of course, this was a live stream, but this will live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on newminds.tv for people to find and watch and share as often as they would like. And thanks for sharing your insights and wisdom today. And best of luck with the online course and the book.
Thank you very much. And all my best to you and everyone at New Minds and your families and Mr. T and all of you. I miss you.
We miss you.
Take care.
Send some of that Arizona sunshine over.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of that. All right. Okay. Take care then.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. Bye.